Centennial Public School. We've come to film for our town.
In October 2007, a group of community volunteers from Kitchener and Waterloo, Ontario, came together with their camcorders and spent some time videotaping the people, places, and happenings of the KW area.
My most exciting discovery was part of Conestoga College. It's a professional restaurant.
They came back with some fascinating pictures and wonderful stories.
They had a family of 18, and they were all going to experience this adventure on the Grand.
What started off as a project to just simply build a playground ended up as a project where we really built community.
This is Our Town, Kitchener, Waterloo. Broadcast of Our Town, Kitchener, Waterloo is made possible by the generous support of Coldwell Banker Peter Benninger Realty, helping people from all over the world settle into our town since 1985. Whether relocating to Kitchener-Waterloo from near or far, our dedicated relocation professionals are ready to go to work for you. And by the members of WNED. Thank you.
Sher DiCiccio. I've lived in Waterloo for 30 years now, and I'm the executive director of the Waterloo Community Arts Center. And because of that, because it's housed in a heritage building, I wanted to explore the heritage sites within the Uptown core. I started with the Seagram distillery lands, and this is actually about a 5-acre part of our Uptown. They're called the barrel warehouses, and one of them is the Center for International Governance Innovation, or CIGI. You'll actually see racks and racks of the barrels that stored the whiskey. And you'll also see a couple of the copper kettles. 2 of the other barrel warehouses have been turned into condominiums. One of the maintenance sheds has been turned into a very upscale restaurant, Soleil. And as well, some of the parts of the machinery from the Seagram property are now outside as public art, which I think is kind of a great reuse, a sort of industrial artifact site. The old button factory, which is the Waterloo Community Arts Center, it gets used by about 24,000 people a year. You're seeing the inside and the outside of a building that's 118 years old. That's been preserved. Now you'll see painting classes or tango lessons or public art exhibitions, classes, workshops, lots of different activities.
Well, if you don't want those lines, you have to soften it just like that.
And right across the road from it is the original train station from the Grand Trunk Railway. They're now trying to get whole neighborhoods designated as heritage neighborhoods, and so the Hillcrest is a wonderful example of one of these old homes that's over 100 years old and is now being used as a bed and breakfast. You realize that these are old neighborhoods, and they're a lot of fun to go around and explore. If you retain your history, what you're doing is retaining a sense of place. A lot of communities started to tear down their heritage buildings. I think Waterloo's a great example of, no, we held on to those buildings, and by doing that, we kept a very vibrant downtown area.
My name is Tim Osland, and I live in Waterloo, and the topic I chose was Victoria Park. Victoria Park, it is the jewel of Kitchener. It is a beautiful park right in the center of the city. It's over 100 years old. It was built by the founders of Kitchener. It's a wonderful place to be. The Victoria Park is the social hub of that area, whether it's a community gathering or it's just to meet your neighbors. Almost every waking hour of the day, there are people in the park either jogging, pushing strollers, walking their dogs. In the one corner of the park, there are some basketball nets. There's a very large adventure playground. There's a kids' splash park. There's a picnic area with swings. And that has been there for longer than I've been alive. The main statue is Queen Victoria's statue. and it sits there quite regally right in the center of the park. My favorite part of the park would be the island. The city that surrounds it seemed to kind of melt away, and it's very peaceful. For years, it was just ducks in the park, and then a few years back, the geese moved in. The city was spending thousands of dollars every week cleaning up after the geese, and so what they finally did is they started coming in monthly and collecting the geese and carting them away, and then about a month later, the geese would come back. And so now we have the monthly geese relocation program. I grew up living on Victoria Street. It was great to grow up near the park. I live in Waterloo, but I come to Kitchener quite often to make the drive so that my kids will experience what I experienced growing up in Victoria Park. It really is a beautiful place to be.
My name is Philip Bast. I'm a journalist, spent 26 years as a print journalist. One of the great, important elements making up this community is its multicultural fabric. The Mennonite horse and buggy is an interesting symbol of the old culture. Probably the only Home Depot in all of Canada, maybe all of North America, that has a stable for horse and buggy. 39 years ago, the German community organized Octoberfest, the celebration of Bavarian culture. Caught some footage of the parade as it's passing the multicultural center in the background. There are services there for people who arrive highly skilled but may have language issues. The Working Center, it's a nonprofit foundation set up, well, to do what it says. It's to help people work. Focus for ethnic women. The day that I stopped by, they were talking about job interviewing.
Okay? Because teller is very specific, right? So which means you're only going to work in the bank as customer service. Now this is too specific, restricted.
The Arpiero project involves storytelling visually through a canvas.
In making the arpillera, they are reshaping their lives, and we're helping them get rooted, and we are building those networks that sometimes they don't have.
There are not a lot of ethnic stores in the community, but you find them sprinkled out here and there. The fabric of the community is so integrated that often we don't even realize it.
Original Turkish kebab, Iskender kebab.
The Multicultural Festival takes place at the height of summer. It's always in Victoria Park. It's a long weekend celebration of all of the cultural components in the community. This community is richer by far for what we have brought to us in terms of all of these cultures. It permeates the community, and I think it gives us perhaps a more broad-minded view of the world.
My name is Mark Whaley. I'm a lifetime resident of Waterloo, and my topic is Intelligent Waterloo. We were chosen amongst almost 500 communities around the world as the world's most intelligent community for this year. And the criteria is, that you're a very innovative, cutting-edge community, a very forward-thinking community, and I think Waterloo is all of that. About 50 years ago, our university decided that the things that were invented there or ideas that came out of the university, that intellectual property would be kept with the person who had the idea. So that began a wave of innovation, the likes of which we've never seen before. You've heard of some of the great success stories like Research in Motion that made the BlackBerry, OpenText, which created one of the first search engines in the world. So that's the first piece of the puzzle. These successful entrepreneurs then reinvested back in the community in a special way. And today we have world-renowned physics institutes and mathematics institutes. The Accelerator Center is an example of how we want to keep innovative ideas growing here in Waterloo. These bright young researchers, we'll put them in this building, build supports around them and safety nets around them so that they can take their ideas and their innovative spirit and capture it and make sure that they're successful. To understand our city, understand our region, is to understand that we're a place of ideas, that our ideas are welcome, and that's so much a part of our very fabric.
My name is Roger Montgomery, and I chose entertainment venues because I've been in the entertainment business for about 20 years in one capacity or the other. There's a lot of talented people out there, whether it's music, dance, theater, film acting. They have a world-class venue here called Center in the Square. They have international acts that come here quite often. There's a lot of small theater here, too. Most of the small theater spots around are quite interesting. They're all very different. St. Jacobs area is an older area, and there's lots of nice little quaint shops there, and so people in the area that are visiting usually pop in and check out the theater there. It's an old church, and it's right in the center of town.
All right, now Randy, as you leave the stage.
And they rotate the theater groups in and out, and you're bound to catch a pretty good show there. Registry Theater is an interesting community spot, too. It's a beautiful old building right in the downtown Kitchener area, and they host some pretty interesting theater experiences there. Being in the film and television business for a while, I do like to go to movies a lot. They have a few multiplexes here. There's a rep theater here called the Princess Cinemas. They carry a lot of repertory type films. He opened another cinema called the Princess Twins. He shows mainstream films there as well. Waterloo Button Factory, it's already a good venue for many activities in arts and painting and photography. We're looking forward to making that the best of all of them here in Waterloo.
My name's Mallory Richard. I'm a fourth-year student at Wilfrid Laurier University in Film and English, and I did my topic on independent music and venues in Kitchener-Waterloo. I went onto campus because I figured that that's where a bunch of people get their start, is just doing open mics, and it was really fun to see. The indie music scene is actually really fertile in this area. It's really self-sufficient, and the venues around here really do support independent labels and musicians. I went to a local Irish pub called Felshay's, and they had an acoustic night there.
Nobody misses you more than me.
So I went to the Silver Spur, which technically is an alternative if you want to see live music, but it's a karaoke bar. But it's really popular among the college and university students in the area, and you're guaranteed to have a good time when you go there. The Boathouse was the last place I went to. It's really a gorgeous little venue in Victoria Park. It was Sound Foundation playing, and I'd gone with two friends of mine who'd actually grown up with a couple members of the band. I hope anyone who comes out to Kitchener-Waterloo, or maybe has lived in Kitchener-Waterloo for years, takes the time to actually look into some of these smaller venues and see a local band, because these guys work so hard, and what they come up with is, it's not just something you'd find indicative of someone who plays in their garage. These are serious musicians who have started from the ground up and really made something of themselves.
Thank you very much, and have a good night.
My name is Kira Scheffelmeirer, and I'm representing the enrichment students at Centennial Public School at Waterloo, and we chose to film Uptown Waterloo. Our group tried to look at it through the teenagers' point of view. We started with the Italian ice cream store, Whole Lotta Gelata. It has some of the best gelata in Waterloo. There's also a Mysterious Affair at Waterloo, which is a mystery bookstore. I love the architecture around King Street and how they still have a lot of the original buildings. And some buildings have been renovated or remodeled, but they kept the older architecture in mind. There is the clock tower, which originally was the post office. It then later was a restaurant, and it is now a building that the Perimeter Institute rents out. The police station was originally an insurance company. There's a trendy cafe called Marbles, which originally was a horse stable. Princess Cinemas is in the building that was the original Waterloo Hotel, which was built in 1890. The Clay and Glass Gallery is a newer building. Lots of different famous artists from around the world will come there. The Waterloo Public Library is a very important part of Waterloo. There is a lot of different resources that you can get there if you're a child studying. The Perimeter Institute, it's a research facility started by the founder and co-CEO of RIM. You won't see another building like it. The roof above the parking garage has a lawn on it, so you can see people mowing it sometimes. The tourist or steam train is an important part of Waterloo's heritage because in the 1800s, that was the primary source of transportation. The grist mill was one of the original companies in Waterloo. It ground the grain into flour. It's on Silver Lake. It's a very nice place to go and rest or eat and just enjoy the scenery. Uptown Waterloo holds a lot of the heritage in Waterloo because that's basically where the city started. I really enjoy going there. The buildings are all different and original, and it has a lot of history in it.
My name's James Leiper. I'm a local video producer, and the topic I chose was Octoberfest. And this is an annual event that runs in Kitchener-Waterloo. One of the things that they do is to raise the maypole, and this is one of the icons that indicates that the festival has begun.
Guten Tag, and welcome to the 39th Kitchener-Waterloo Octoberfest celebrations.
The keg is tapped, and they enjoy a beer on the front steps of City Hall. Oktoberfest, it's a 9-day festival, attracts upwards of 700,000 people.
Yeah. In that case, everybody drink up, Prost!
It's time for some of the fest halls to open their doors, and this means it's a time to begin the celebration with music, good food, and lots of fun with lots of people dancing and enjoying the Bavarian culture. The original German immigrants to this area came from Pennsylvania in the early 1800s, have maintained their culture and heritage. To celebrate this as part of Oktoberfest, they have German Pioneers Day at the Rotunda at the City Hall in Kitchener. One of the historic buildings that remains from the original settlers from Pennsylvania back in the early 1800s is Joseph Snider House. It was in the brochure for an Oktoberfest event that shouldn't be missed. A really interesting capsule in time of what life was like. The heritage train that runs from Uptown Waterloo to the Waterloo Farmers Market was also one of the items listed in the Oktoberfest guide that folks could partake in during their visit or stay in the KW area. And it's a terrific way to celebrate the past. The Oktoberfest parade, as it makes its way down King Street in front of over 100,000 people who attend, is the second largest parade of any kind in Canada.
Was Hump
Octoberfest began in Bavaria back in 1810 when King Ludwig was to be married, so I guess you could look at Oktoberfest kind of as a wedding reception that's been going on through the ages for some 200 years now. In this area, Oktoberfest began at the Concordia Club in 1969, and it's been going full speed ahead ever since. The Kitchener Memorial Auditorium is nicknamed Carlsberg House just for this 9-day festival, and they roll in different bands for people of different ages, and what a blast.
This has been going on for 39 years here in Kitchener, and it's just a great, great time. Oktoberfest is wunderbar.
You can't really shoehorn Oktoberfest into one specific category. There's really something in it for every member of the family. Oktoberfest is important to the community because it does celebrate the local culture and heritage. It does give back through the many charities that it does support. But at the same time, where else can you go and experience the type of music, the culture, the food? And you can't name a different event in this town where you'll find more people doing more different things, but celebrating one common theme. And that's what Oktoberfest is all about.
Hey, it's Centennial Public School. We've come to film for our town.
My name is Laura Kim, and I'm representing the Centennial Enrichment students, and we chose the Waterloo Regional Children's Museum for our topic. I think my favorite part is the light show. You dance between the screen and the lights, and it projects different colors, shadows onto the screen, and you can see it from all over the Children's Museum. There is a living wall, which is a wall with plants growing vertically along it. There's a giant kaleidoscope that you can look through. The satellite, it's in the center of the museum. There's a bunch of different stations. You type something into the station, and then the satellite will come to your station, pick up the message, and move to the station that you sent it to, and it says it out loud. The waterworks is a small stream on the second floor, and that's really fun to play with. You're trying to make it the fastest route for the boat to come from one end of the stream to the other. There is a heat sensor dome on the third floor. The red will mean it's warmer in that area, and the blue will mean it's cooler. It was really fun to shoot because we got to play with the things while we're shooting it. The plasma ball is a glass sphere, and when you put your fingers on it, I guess the electricity moves towards your fingers. Upstairs there's a robotic chair. It's a really cool exhibit. There's a chair sitting on a platform, and when the show starts, it just collapses on top of itself. And the base of the chair moves around and picks up all the legs and sits itself back upright. I kind of learned how it worked, and I think everyone in our class thought that it was really cool the way that it could just pick itself up just by using sensors. On the fourth floor, there's an anatomy exhibit, and it has a bunch of different aspects of life. There is a part of it, though, that's the eco-footprint, and it tells you how you're affecting the ecosystem with what you do. We chose the Children's Museum because it is something that can relate to all of us. A lot of younger kids enjoy going there and enjoy playing with all the cool things and looking at the different exhibits. We all kind of knew that we could do a lot of fun things with it and have a lot of fun while shooting there.
My name is Michael Hayes, and I'm a born and raised resident of the region of Waterloo, born in Kitchener, raised in Waterloo. My topic is CKWR, Canada's first community radio station.
Melody at FM 98.5 CKWR, 4 minutes after 3 o'clock on the Vic Foley again.
CKWR operates with over 40 volunteers. 60% of their programming is volunteer programming. It stretches the gamut from multicultural shows to specialty shows that cover a large and varied type of music, as well as 7 religious programs. I focused on the 3 daily broadcasters. The morning host is Bob Dearborn, and along with his producer Bernie Sadlick, put together a very quiet, thoughtful morning show. It doesn't toss you out of bed if you happen to be listening to the clock radio.
Friday morning bonus joke exchange at 7:20. First up is this one from George Zerdung, Anger Management. Conversation. They want to hear some pleasant music and some pleasant conversation, and a one-to-one conversation at that. It's me talking to the listener.
During the summer market season, CKWR has 2-hour on-site radio show, and Fred Merritt is the one that goes to the market on Wednesday morning and sits there and does his broadcast.
I think that's what community is all about. One radio station touching one-on-one. That's person-on-person relationship. We're more like a personal radio, old-fashioned radio, I call it.
And there's some open houses going on with the fire department. All of that ahead. This is the George Baker selection, La Paloma Blanca.
And the afternoon host, Vic Folliott, who is a champion of the arts in our community, makes it his work to attend as many theatrical performances as possible and include them in his twice daily talking entertainment feature.
Boy, you can't get any more community than community theater, because it, especially in the smaller communities where you've got people that, they're bank tellers one day and the next day they're starring in a local production. So I love it. I couldn't ask for anything better to do, I don't think.
It's 8 o'clock. I'm Steve Hodgson, FM 98.5.
It's not bricks and mortar. It's not flowers. It's not a building. It's not any of those things. It's the human spirit that I'm hoping that comes through this. If somebody came along one day and said, the only opportunity you have is to have one TV station, it would be WNED. And if I could have one radio station, it would be CKWR.
My name is Chuck Snider, and I am responsible for that portion of this program dealing with the dune villages. Historically, it is the first place of settlement for the Mennonites who came here from Pennsylvania. It is, in fact, the first non-native settlement in the interior of what was then called Upper Canada, now Ontario. What I sought to do was to get a look at the heritage buildings that still exist there. Homer Watson is now, I suppose, a very obscure Canadian artist, but during his greatest years of productivity, which were from about 1880 to 1936, he was internationally famous. After his death, his studio and home remained in the family for a few years, but was then turned into an art school for 20 years. The Homer Watson birthplace is located about a mile as the crow flies away from what is called the Homer Watson house. It's not marked. Fortunately, there's a new owner, and he has begun a complete restoration. The Red Lion Inn is a coaching inn initially, but it was eventually servicing the Grand Trunk Railway, and it's now a private residence. And the Regency Cottage, it's almost directly across the road from the inn. It is a designated heritage home, And the owners of that home have, again, kept it in very nearly pristine condition. The Dune Mills is the original mill that was built by Adam Ferry as a grist mill. It's now the entrance to part of the Grand River Trail system. There are two cemeteries in Dune, right next to each other. On one side is the Kinsey Bean Cemetery, which is the original pioneer cemetery for the Mennonites in the region. The cemetery to the west of that is the Dune Presbyterian Church Cemetery. You have all of the generations who've ever lived in Dune buried, from the pioneers right up to the present day. Dune Heritage Crossroads is a living museum.
Try it, Grandma. You'll be good at it.
It was founded in 1957, and what they did there was to bring homes, businesses, farmsteads from all over Waterloo region and assemble them, in part to save them and in part to reproduce for the future a snapshot of history. And that was my first introduction to the area, and sort of sparked my interest in Dune as a place I'd like to live, simply because of that rural country heritage.
Hi, I'm Shirley Fowley, and I have been building floats for the Octoberfest parade for quite a while. And so the story I decided to tell was what goes on to make that parade happen on the street. It's a big story. There's about 150 volunteers, plus a whole bunch of other people giving support and lending their services on the day of the parade. Jeannie Weiler is the executive head of the parade. All those 150 people usually start working in February with meetings and getting organized. There were 30 floats in this year's parade, 7 of which were brand new, built from scratch from the chassis up. Eric Scheffler is in charge of making sure that the floats run. He has a whole team of mechanics that he calls in about 2 or 3 weeks before the parade, and they start going over all the engines.
You can try cutting it down first, right? And see if we can get this up.
Make sure everyone runs, takes it out for a test drive. It is a family affair. There are kids everywhere. And generally, after a generation, the kids start volunteering too. The Saturday before the parade, the vehicles come in. They're all loaned to us by a local car dealership. So Saturday, it's a hive of activity with flowers arriving.
Flowers are probably going down the back there.
And people putting last-minute touches on their floats. The volunteers from the city of Kitchener, volunteers from the region of Waterloo, decorating floats.
This is the full lineup that you will need, okay?
Then on the Sunday before the parade, we do a final check of everything.
Float drivers, if you could be here by 6 a.m., I'd appreciate it.
So that is strictly, this hat probably is 100% made by the parade committee volunteers.
Then the morning of the parade, the Monday morning, we take over all of the Waterloo City yards. The bands are all marshaled in a different area. Mark Satuski is in charge of bands there. They are fed into the parade as it starts. And same thing with the horse units. They're all marshaled in the train station yards. Essentially, it's like a great big artery being fed by other veins, and that's how they put the parade together. It is a community effort, and there's an awful lot of us Waterloonies that are involved in it. They estimate that there is at least 150 to 200,000 people on the street. There is not a bare spot on the entire 6 kilometers of the parade route. When the parade's over, the police escort arrives, guides them back to the yards, and they close the door on another parade. We are Canada's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and we take great pride in putting on the best parade we possibly can, and it gets better every year.
I'm Louis Trembley, and I'm a Remax agent throughout the days, and I'm a salsa dancer at night, and the topic that we chose for our town is the salsa movement that's taking place in Kitchener-Waterloo. People come out for fun, for entertainment, for sociability, for exercise, and it becomes a very addictive lifestyle without any bad side effects. It's basically done to 4/4 time, but you're only stepping on 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, or the quick, quick, slow rhythm.
So guys, your left foot is your number 1. Ladies, your right foot is number 1.
You'll see that very simply we break down moves into elements, and it makes it very, very simple for someone to learn.
1, 2, 3, and 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, and 5, 6, 7.
That
Perfect.
looks pretty good.
Beautiful. Very
Awesome.
nicely done. Safway. Hand over.
1, 2, 3,
Home.
6, 7.
Okay, no, nice. That's look like stars, baby.
Casino de Rueda is the wheel of salsa, and it's done very similar to a square dance, okay? And there's a caller, and they call specific movements. They do a figure, and then they pass their partners to the next. We bring in special events into Kitchener. We brought in one of the top salseros in the world, who's Al Liquid Silver Espinosa, with his partner Carla Espinosa, who is his wife. It shows the cultural diversity of Kitchener-Waterloo. It shows our artistic background from the arts community. It shows dance and an involvement that has really taken place over Kitchener-Waterloo over the last 4 years. And you see a cross-smattering of people becoming involved, okay, in something that maybe they would never have experienced.
My name's Carolyn Gruchy, and the topic we chose was Rockway Gardens. The first time I came to Kitchener, I've just come off the 401, which is like 8 lanes of traffic. The gardens is the first thing I saw. And it was just one of those things that made me think that this was a city that had something special to offer. Rockway Gardens is a garden that started in the late 1800s in Kitchener by the Horticultural Society. During the height of the summer there, it's just a riot of color. It's just beautiful. Got over 3,000 plants just around the main fountain in the center of the park, and it's very pleasant to go and sit by the side of those fountains and just listen to the water running. There's rock gardens, there's climbing gardens, there's a natural garden that I refer to as the wild frontier, and just thousands of flowers. I was trying to find all the best vistas, and I'd go into a corner, and there it would be this wonderful looking shot of this little pond, and then you turn around and you've only turned like maybe 30 degrees, and you've got a flower bed, or you've got a bunch of trees, or something that's totally different look. So as you wander through this garden, you get this incredible changing sense of this natural space, but you're only a half a block away from one of the major streets in Kitchener. Right now, there's a lot of people working just to tidy up the beds for winter time. In fact, I was talking with one woman there, and he's putting away the grasses. Now, I grow grasses in my garden, and I didn't realize that it's a good idea to bed them over for the winter time. They've got 4 or 5 full-time workers at the Horticultural Society, and then everybody else is volunteer. I think it's important that cities put a certain amount of time and effort into creating gardens. People need to have them as a place to refresh themselves.
My name is Celia Jones, and my topic is St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in downtown Kitchener. As someone who has worked in downtown Kitchener for 20 years, St. Andrews is somewhat iconic. There's something very comforting about sort of seeing that structure. It's at a very busy intersection in downtown Kitchener. It has a stature that makes it unique in that particular landscape. St. Andrews is preparing for its 153rd anniversary, and I was invited to be there as the choir was working through some of the pieces that they were going to be using in this anniversary concert. It was a joy to be in that space, hearing them work through this material. It was wonderful. It's quite an imposing worship space. But at the same time, it feels very warm. It has a real warmth about it. What fascinates me the most about the windows is that they are just so alive. I mean, even on the dullest day, they literally come alive. The noon hour recitals have become an institution, if you will, at St. Andrews. They are in their 32nd year. It's one of those communal things that the church does. St. Andrews provides lunch at a nominal cost. You can go in and you can get sandwiches and squares and coffee and tea, and then take your food and your beverages right into the sanctuary, where you're going to sit and be entertained for half an hour. Bring them to St. Peter where the four winds blow. When I think of St. Andrews, it's a church that really extends itself out into the community, but it does it in such a very quiet, dignified way. And the sun is falling down upon.
My name is Steve Lindt, and I chose seniors as my topic. I don't think of myself as old yet. I still think of myself as a teenager, and I think a lot of my baby boom peers probably think exactly the same way. In a lot of cases, there are organizations, clubs, and groups who run themselves. They raise their own money, they find their own space, and they mentor each other, and I'm really proud of that. I think that's something really extraordinary. So, for instance, I chose Woodworking Club. It is exactly what I'm thinking about when I think about older adults helping each other. 4,000 square feet. It's an incredible facility. One man said to me, "I hope heaven is just like this." All this fantastic equipment. The painting club, as far as I could tell, the real pleasure was being in the presence of your friends and talking, sharing stories. And on occasion, when somebody would ask each other, "I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to put a shadow behind a telephone pole, or how do I put ripples on water?" So they would walk around and assist each other, and that was actually quite lovely. But the real joy in these clubs seemed to be being with other people of like mind.
Next, the Olympics. Which way to Beijing?
It didn't matter whether it was the Old Salts Canoe Club, whether it was the Woodworking Club, the Painting Club, even at the Computer Club, where you have 4 or 5 teachers and 4 or 5 students. They do share experiences and share knowledge.
If I want to undo, though, I can do Control Z.
If and when I get to be 75 or 80, I'm looking forward to that kind of relationship with my peers.
My name is Steve Andrews, and the topic that I chose was the Grand River. Well, the Grand River is a natural river that flows around Kitchener-Waterloo, It's a wonderful place to go to and enjoy nature close to a large city. I first started off going to some of the locations that were easy access to the river. The Grand River Conservation Authority has all kinds of trails through the area. A lot of people will go down and walk the trails, play along the river. If you're a photographer, it's a lovely place to go and take pictures of nature. One of the adventures that you can take on the Grand River is the canoeing.
See, and it's showing you specifically if you have a canoe, what you have to have with you.
I went with my friend, and he signed up for a canoe trip. Where we left from in Breslau, you just basically go downstream. It's easy to paddle. It's a pleasant, peaceful canoe journey down the river. It has a very calming effect on you. People should come in and enjoy the canoe ride down the Grand.
Matthew, you're on mine. Yeah, I know.
There's a company that does rafting on the Grand, and they had a family of 18, and they were all going to experience this adventure on the Grand. And they were laughing, they were having fun. You could see that they were just enjoying themselves on this rafting adventure. I've lived in the city, but I've really never gone down and really had an experience of the river firsthand. So for me, it was an eye-opener as to, hey, this is in our area, it's easy to get to, we have guides, they're helping others enjoy the river, and it's something that makes our city a very wonderful place.
My name is Terence Scully. I chose the topic of the Waterloo Farmers Market because it has such a long history in the entire county of Waterloo. The county itself was virtually entirely settled by farmers who came from Pennsylvania in about 1805. Both Kitchener and Waterloo, from the very earliest times, had markets run by the farmers themselves and devoted to presenting, selling their produce. The Waterloo Farmers Market moved from the center of town up to the northern outskirts of town. What you see in the market are signs of Mennonite life. You will see buggies in which they bring their goods to market, and also buggies in which they ride.
Fresh baked cinnamon bags.
I was particularly interested in the case of one lady, and she was making cinnamon buns right on the spot. And she was doing a very good business there with people who knew her, who clearly made a point of visiting that stall.
What food group do apples go in? They're in the fruit and vegetable group.
Apparently the market has a considerable place in the schoolroom, and teachers see it as an ideal opportunity to bring the students out to teach something about food. The children are excited. It's a real outing for them. This reflects the agricultural origin of the whole region, and it's a feature which is deeply rooted in the history of the region.
I'm Benton Leong, and for my subject, I chose the reconstruction of the children's playground at Heasley Park. It's a playground that's quite a few years old and that needed refurbishment. Typically, the city spends about $25,000 on refurbishing a playground, and they had in mind the fact that they would like to spend closer to about $60,000. We planned for that over a period of about 2 months this summer, and the turnout and the support that we got was just simply amazing. So we had the support of our local bank, who did a fundraiser amongst their customers. The Community Build Day was itself an all-day event. It started at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and we had well over 150 volunteers come out from all different sectors of our neighborhood and our churches and our schools. The Let Them Be Kids Foundation provided us with a grant of $10,000, then took the existing equipment, they shipped it off to Bosnia for reuse. So, in fact, nothing got wasted.
Well, right now we're in the process of, we're finished grading the berm, and then we're laying sod around the edge, and then when we have it the way we want, we're going to start laying the sod.
We had an engineering company send out teams of people to work with us. We had the Canadian Army send engineers from one of the regiments to actually do the ground preparation. The police helped, they volunteered their time. The firemen came out, Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, restaurants in the area. They supplied food for our volunteers. The support was just simply overwhelming. What started off as a project to just simply build a playground ended up as a project where we really built community. And it really sort of pervades the entire city or this entire region. And that's why I think that you'll see innovation here, and I think that that's why you'll see the sort of community spirit that exists in Waterloo. We work hard to help each other. And I don't think that people here believe that there are things that they can't do. It's just a matter of simply figuring out how.
My name is Jan Purvis, and I grew up in Kitchener, and I currently live in Waterloo. And I picked the topic of our educational institutions that surround our community, the universities, the colleges, the culture, the infusion of creativity and diversity that they bring. This really was my very first time walking on the grounds of the universities, and I did it as a tour. There's so many things to discover within the walls of these places that I was very excited when I started to walk around on these campuses and discover things that I myself didn't know existed. Most of the galleries and venues that are on site of the universities and the other campuses are free generally. I was invited to attend a rehearsal of a world-renowned string quartet. It's called the Penderecki String Quartet. These are the artists in residence at Wilfrid Laurier University. And here they are doing a free concert at noon for the community. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and to know that these places exist, for me, it was just a thrill, absolute thrill.
Why don't we just take all the cutlery off, or the glassware off?
Give me 1 second, I didn't say to start yet.
My most exciting discovery was part of Conestoga College. It's a professional restaurant. It really is trying to give them a feel for what it's going to be like. And the meals they serve there, you have to go. 4-course. Food out of this world. It's the best place I have ever eaten in town. I went into the back room where they have the classroom. Never seen anything like it. It's state of the art. It's the only one in Ontario. And it's like a cooking show, but it's way better. We get almost 30,000 new students every year from all over the world. The injection, the diversity, that's what I really like that it brings to this community. It's always changing. I moved back to Waterloo specifically because of what they have here for my children. The opportunities, we have the world coming to our town.
Broadcast of Our Town, Kitchener-Waterloo is made possible by the generous support of Coldwell banker Peter Benninger Realty, helping people from all over the world settle into our town since 1985. Whether relocating to Kitchener-Waterloo from near or far, our dedicated relocation professionals are ready to go to work for you. And by the members of WNED. Thank you.